Okay, this video is about how to use the Iowa Fishing Atlas along with Google Maps to help you kind of find and pinpoint and save some locations for fishing. And so the first thing that you want to do is go to the Iowa Fishing Atlas, and it's on the DNR's fishing page, but you can find it right here if you go to that. And if you click on it, it comes up with well, actually, it doesn't quite look like that. Actually, it let's see if I can get it back. Okay, so it basically shows you the whole state of Iowa. So you would have to find somewhere where you want to go fishing. So I want to go to Pleasant Creek, so I click on it and it says zoom to. So you zoom to it, and if you zoom far enough, you can get to where it shows you where some structure has been put into the lake, and it shows you a map of the lake and things like that. Uh, a couple other things that it shows that I kind of find helpful, especially if you're trying to pinpoint a certain place, is it does have your latitude and longitude numbers down here. And I prefer to work with the ones right here that are in decimal mode here, because I can set my ones on Google Maps to match that. So now you can have this, like you can have this on your phone when you're down at the lake, but unfortunately, it doesn't really show where you're at. Okay, so let me just show you how I use this. So well, what I do is I take my boat down here, and I have a cheap depth finder, and I know some people have really expensive depth finders that show and you can mark GPS coordinates on it, but I don't have anything like that. So what I do is I kind of look at this map and I kind of try to think, well, what am I going to fish for and things like that, and I kind of look for drop-offs and things like that. And I like to fish for ice fish for bluegills, and so what I kind of look at is for water between 10 and 20 feet deep, and sometimes it's kind of hard to figure that out using this map, but you can see it does have the contour lines on it if you get it. Let's see, not to zoom in too far, but anyway, and I look for drop-offs, and so I noticed like right here there was a drop-off here, and so I went there this winter and I had to drill like, I don't know, like 20 holes around in here. And finally I found a spot where there was some brush, and there were actually, it was pretty good fishing there, and I caught quite a few fish. And so that spot was somewhere about right in here. Now you can kind of eyeball it and things like that, but then when you go to the lake, I mean, you can pull this map up. But what I found is if you have Google Maps on your phone, you can input and save some things for future use. So anyway, so what I do is I go to Google Maps. Now this is just coming up where I live here. And so what I have to do is I have to go over and I have to find, let's see, I have to find the lake here. So I have to go over, you find where the lake is. Let's see, it should be right in here somewhere. All right, and then I'm gonna switch over to the satellite version of it. And then I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to find that spot where I was at here. And anyway, so it's right in here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And what I do is I tend to just like go there in person. And when I go there in person and find where I want to fish, like whether it be by a boat or by ice fishing, I can put a pin where I want it. Now, what I want to do is, before I do that, I want to go in here and I want to go to your places on the pull down menu over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go where it says saved, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to add a place, and I'm just going to call this Pleasant Creek. And what I will do is I will save all my fishing spots for Pleasant Creek on this list. All right. And so then what I would do is I would be out there on the lake, and you would see this map. And then what I would do is I can put a pin like right where I want to put it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. All right, so let me zoom in a little bit more. So the spot was about right off this point, about right there. And so I want to put that. Now I'm going to go down here. After I put that pin, I'm going to do some things to it. So I'm going to click on the coordinates. Now you could write these coordinates down, or you can just save them on your Google Maps. But when you click on that, all right, you can save it or you can add a label, but let me just go to save so we can save it. And we're going to save it under Pleasant Creek. And it marks that. Now, we could add a label to it. And you can add a label and we can say that, for instance, you could say good, it was good bluegill fishing, like ice fishing there anyway. You could put the depth of the water there if you want, or you could put like what kind of habitat is there. So there was like a little brush pile right there. That's what was there. Okay. And so anyway, we saved that in Pleasant Creek. All right, so I'll just hit return, and so it has that spot. Now, how I save these, because if you have a lot of these places, you could you might forget them. And for example, there was some spot along this bank that I found in the summertime, but I couldn't remember where it was at. And I went out here ice fishing and I drilled about 50 holes along this bank. And I couldn't find this brush pile where I caught a ton of fish earlier the summer before that. And I just looked and looked and looked and I couldn't find it. I went back out there with the boat in the spring and with my depth finder, and sure enough, I found this place. And I was just off a little bit, I think, ice fishing. Now, I don't remember the exact spot, but let's just say it's right here. So I could click on that spot and I can put a pin there and I can go down here and I can label it. And let's see here. So we'll save that place, and we're going to save it under Pleasant Creek. And I want to add a label to it. And so a label would be, this one was actually good crappie fishing in the spring. Uh, I don't know how if it would be good for ice fishing or not. So you might want to make a note. It was like during the spring spawn, okay, is when I found this. And so let's see, I saved that under Pleasant Creek. I already did that. All right, and so I'll save that, and now I have that place. Okay, and let's see. One thing that was surprising, I went ice fishing and drilled like 1,000 holes and couldn't find hardly any fish, and I was really tired. And I went to go back home, and I thought, oh, let me just try. I said I remembered one spot that I had marked with my boat, and like right in here, it's like almost a little bit too far to fish from the bank here, but right in here, there's a brush pile in it's about 12 feet of water, which is what I found is about perfect for the ice fishing in Palo, like when you have early ice or mid ice, it's pretty good. And what I found is I was just ready to go home, but I remembered marking this spot with my boat. I drilled a couple holes and found the brush pile. Now, if you have the coordinates right here, you can just have this on Google Maps, and I'll show you that in a second. But that spot, if I want to save this spot, and we'll save it under Pleasant Creek, and let's see, we'll add a label to that. And so this was a good bluegill spot for ice fishing. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I caught my limit there in just as soon as I could put my bait in the water, I caught like a keeper bluegill. Okay, so I don't know. There was brush. I could just put ice fishing. It might be good there in the summer. I don't know. I never really tried it in the summertime, but it was really, really good. And it's really close to the boat dock. Like everybody thinks you got to walk 20 miles out to find somewhere, but this was a good spot. So we'll just save that place. Okay, and yeah, I added a label. All right, so I think I saved it in the right spot. Yep. All right, and so now you can see that I have these places marked on my Google Maps. And so now if I want to go fishing there sometime, all right, so like let's just go back to like, I don't know, like you go to your places And let's say you're going to Pleasant Creek, you can have all these spots, and depending on how well you label them, you can say, oh, I want to try to catch some bluegills ice fishing. You can just go in and you can click on that with your Google Maps, and it will actually, you can do directions. And like, for example, if I click on the directions to it, uh, it says choose a starting point on the map. Well, I could just put in like where I live in Robbins, Iowa. I don't know if it will let me do that, hopefully. All right. And let's just say I want to walk, which would be foolish, but okay, it would take me a long time. But anyway, if you were at the lake and you put walk, it would kind of take you to where you want to go, and you could find it on your thing. One of the things that I spend a lot of time doing that you might find helpful is if you look at this Iowa Fishing Atlas, instead of just going out and randomly like drilling holes or randomly looking, you can use this fishing atlas which shows some structure. And I like to take my boat out in the spring or summer or whatever and go out and find these structures and mark them, and then you have them for the next ice fishing season. If you're going to ice fish or just regular fishing or whatever, you can already have these and you don't spend a ton of time like looking around for different places. You already have some that you can try. All right, that's it with that video.